वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Please repeat this one after me. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Excellent work. So it started recording. Please mute your sessions, and then if you have any questions we can address them at the end of the class. So quick recap of what we have done the previous week, the story where we have arrived in the story part. So Pandavas, the 5 brothers, married Draupadi, daughter of Drupada, King Drupada, and the sister of Drashtadyumna. And Kauravas, they tried to plot something against them, but the elders wouldn't agree. So Dhritarashtra, he gave half of the kingdom to Pandavas, Khandava Prastha, and with their power and with their intelligence they built a beautiful city, Indraprastha, and started developing their kingdom. And with Krishna's idea they went for the Rajasuya Yagam, and in the as part of the yaga they killed Jarasandha. Bhima fought with Jarasandha and he killed him. And Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, they went around the different countries and they conquered, they won the battles against many kings, making Dharmaraja the supreme emperor of the area. And then as part of the Rajasuya Yaga, Krishna was getting the guest of honor, the great honor, and everybody was praying to him as part of the yaga. And Shishupala, he tries to insult Krishna, saying that he is undeserving of such kind of honor. As promised to Shishupala's mother, who is Krishna's aunt, he spares 100 mistakes of Shishupala. He lets him go on for a while until he crosses the 100th mistake. And then he takes his Sudarshan Chakra and he kills Shishupala. So that is where we ended the story last week, and this week we are going to continue from there. So after the grand Rajasuya Yaga, King Yudhishthira, all the kings, various kings and dignitaries, they all came from various countries. So he invited all of them and the guests to see the new palace, the magnificent palace built by the divine architect named Mayasura. He was saved. Mayasura was in the Khandava forest when the fire god came and asked to eat up the forest as a herbal solution for his stomach pain. Krishna and Arjuna, they allowed him to do that. They fought with Indra and made his way easy. And as part of that, Mayasura was also stuck in that forest and he asks to be rescued, and Arjuna rescues him. So to repay Arjuna's help, he builds this amazing palace. So that palace is called Mayasabha, and it was not an ordinary building. It was full of wonders. The walls were that shone like mirrors and embedded with jewels and all kinds of gems. The floors looked like flowing water. Doors that opened automatically, and there are ponds that looked like solid ground. Nobody can see with the naked eye and say whether it is a floor or whether it is water. So everywhere one looked, there was a surprise waiting. It is that kind of a building. So all the guests walked through the palace. They were amazed with each and every part of the palace. They praised the Pandavas for ruling with kindness and having such kind of possessions, and for all the glory that they are getting. Among the guests, of course, Kauravas and their eldest of the Kauravas, Duryodhana, was also there. So when he was also invited to the Maya Sabha for the tour. When he entered the Sabha, he was stunned by its beauty. He was very amazed by it. But instead of appreciating it, he started feeling jealous about it. Everyone started praising him, and all those praises sounded like sharp stings to him, because he can't tolerate anybody praising Pandavas in front of him because of the jealousy. He continued the tour, and as he walked through one of the corridors and opened up the door, he saw that it was like a normal room. It's gold polish everywhere, and the pillars were amazingly decorated and all. And he thought it was like a normal room. And as he entered and walked through the room, it looked like a polished floor. But as he stepped forward, splash, he fell into a pond or a pool which was built in a room, and which completely was incognito, which is completely in disguise as the floor. No, he couldn't tell that there's water there, so he fell into that water and found himself in waist deep of water. So the floor was actually a cleverly hidden pool. So the Maya Sabha was full of such kind of illusions and such kind of magics. So that is the speciality of Mayasura, to build these kind of buildings. At that time, when Duryodhana was going through this, Draupadi was passing by with her attendants, with her servants, through that same room. They saw Duryodhana dripping and slipping into the pool and falling inside the pool and trying to climb out and finding it hard, very embarrassed, very humiliated about it. So the sight was so unexpected even for them that they just burst out in laugh. They didn't think much. They didn't know what they were doing. It was just a reflex. Draupadi also smiled, and the laughter, it echoed through the halls. Everybody was looking at Duryodhana, and everybody was watching him there. Duryodhana's face, he was already humiliated, he was already embarrassed, and now all of them, everybody's looking at him. He could hear everybody laughing at him, so his face burned with shame. He felt insulted, he felt frustrated, he felt angry, embarrassed, but he couldn't do anything about it. So then he came out of it. He was in deep humiliation. He left the palace immediately, and he returned to Hastinapura without telling anybody. He just dashed back to Hastinapura. When he reached home, it was very evident that he was very sad. He always sat in his chamber, not talking to anybody. He refused food. He spent time alone, and he was thinking of that incident, and that incident only that happened. And as it is, it was an embarrassing incident for an emperor, for a king or an emperor. And then to add to it, Draupadi and her attendants laughing and everybody looking at him, it just seemed like too much for him. Then one day he sat with his head on his knees, and he was very sad. And then Karna, Shakuni, Dussasana, they all came, and then he said, what is the point of living here? He was talking to them, living like this, I can't live like this. This insult is too much to bear. I'm the king, or the prospective king of the Kauravas, and this happened to me, and nobody stopped me, nobody helped me, and instead they all laughed at me and they all made fun of me. So I'm going to give up my life. I can't live like this. So all three of them, they immediately tried to stop him and tried to console him, saying, there will be ways to defeat Pandavas. You don't worry, don't do anything hasty, and we will come up with a way to defeat him. Then he said, how can we defeat him? They are equal in riches now. They have all the powers now. They have so many kings on their side also because of the Rajasuya Yaga. And Pandavas themselves, the 5 of them are so strong, and they have Krishna behind them. So how can we defeat them? You're just saying it to console me, but there is no solution to this. Then Shakuni is Dhritarashtra's brother-in-law. That is Gandhari's brother. So Duryodhana's uncle, maternal uncle. So he comes forward and he says, we are not going to go for a war. We are going to invite them for a game of gambling, game of dice, and then we are going to defeat them in that. Any defeat is a defeat, whether it is in the war or the game. And he took out a pair of dice and he started explaining the plan. The dice, there's like a very special set of dice. They sparkled in light, and they are magical dice that Shakuni had. And he had a spell on them. They fall exactly the way he wants them to fall. The numbers, whatever he thinks in his mind, and he calls the spell and rolls the dice, those numbers only show up in the dice. That is not how normal dice work, right? We all played board games. Nobody knows, even whoever is throwing the dice, they can't depict, or they can't see what the numbers are going to be. But Shakuni can. He can call the dice, he can call the spell and call the numbers that he wants, and those numbers only come up. And then he started explaining the plan, saying Yudhishthira, he loves dharma. He will follow the righteousness, the rules by the book. And the rules say that if a fellow king invites you to a game, or if a king challenges you to a battle, and if you have the valor and if you have the courage and the means to defeat or win the battle, you should always fight the king. And when anybody invites you to a game, you have to attend. So that is the rule of the kings. So they send an invitation to Yudhishthira. He will definitely show up. And once he shows up, leave it up to me to win the game for you. So Duryodhana's eyes widened. He was very happy, and he really liked the plan, because victory is for sure, he knows that. And that is the kind of victory he wants, even though it is by wrong means, even though it is by cheating. He doesn't care about those things. All he cares about is his jealousy towards Pandavas and their downfall. So Duryodhana, he was thrilled with Shakuni's plan. He immediately went to his father Dhritarashtra and explained the plan. With Dhritarashtra, Vidura is his chief counsel, so he's always with him, even in his chamber, not just the assembly. In his personal chamber also, he always has Vidura on his side, talking to him, discussing the worldly matters, discussing the kingdom matters and everything. So Vidura heard this plan, and he immediately recognized that Kauravas are planning something evil. And he's very smart. He's always talking about rules and dharma, and he knows what is what. He's a very learned man, a scholar. So he warned the king, Dhritarashtra, that gambling had ruined many families and many kingdoms in the past. He advised Dhritarashtra very strongly to abort the plan, because such a game, it could bring out anything. It brings out the worst in people because of all the emotions and everything at stake. So he said it could bring conflict, it could bring suffering, and at the end it could bring great destruction to the entire kingdom. So do not do this, do not approve of this plan. But Dhritarashtra, he always favored his sons and wished to see them win, even by unfair means. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to him whether it is fair means or unfair means. He just has to have his sons have the upper hand. So he immediately blessed the idea, and he said, go ahead, this is an entertaining thing. He convinced Vidura, saying this is all for fun, just a game of entertainment game between cousins. They'll all have fun, and we can witness, and we can also get entertained. So he ignored Vidura's advice and he sent a royal invitation to invite Yudhishthira and others to Hastinapura for the friendly game of dice. And the message reached Indraprastha, and the messenger, he gave all the details to Yudhishthira and his uncle's desire for all of them to come to their kingdom and to play the game of dice. He read Yudhishthira, Dharmaraj, he read the invitation and he had to agree. As expected by Shakuni, Dharmaraja, he always follows rules, and the rules say that these kind of invitations have to be honored by the king. He immediately started preparing, but the brothers were a little uneasy. They never trusted Duryodhana, they never trusted their uncle. So they went and tried to stop Yudhishthira, asked him to reconsider. Then Yudhishthira reminded them that this is something that we have to honor as a king, because a fellow king has invited us, and it is a custom that we cannot change customs, and we shouldn't be the ones who don't follow these rules. We should set examples to others. The Pandavas, they all agreed. They always listen to their elder brother. Whatever he says, he's also the king. They immediately agreed, and they said, okay, with caution in mind, let's go there. The Kauravas received them with great show and welcomed them grandly. They offered great hospitality. Pandavas, they were given grand palaces to stay in. They treated them with delicious feasts, the music and dance performances, and they provided them with every kind of comfort to make them feel welcome, to make them let go of their guard. So the welcome was so grand as expected. The suspicious mind of the Pandavas, they felt a little bit easy. Oh, okay, this is our cousins are changing, maybe they're very welcoming of us, so this is going to be okay. They rested for a day or so, and then everybody gathered in the royal court for the dice game. The hall was filled with kings, ministers, elders, all the diplomats, the warriors, and even Drona, Bhishma, and Krupacharya. They also came, but they sat silently watching with concern. They were very worried what to expect and what will come out of this game. The Kauravas, they sat proudly. They know what they are doing because they know they're anticipating the victory. So they were very proud and they were very happy. The rules of before starting the game, everybody discussed the rules. The rules of the game are very simple. Each side, they would predict a number, set of number on each dice, and they would bet something on it. Whoever the number that whoever guessed, whoever wins, or whoever number comes on the dice, they would win the bet. That means whatever was on the wager of that bet, they would win the wager also. If the bet gold coins, or if the bet diamonds, or whatever is on the bet, whoever could predict the numbers correctly, they would win all that money. So the rules were discussed, and then Duryodhana, he comes forward and he says, Shakuni, my uncle, he is very good at this game, and he also enjoys this game. Me, I'm not much of a player. So I announced Shakuni to be playing on my behalf, on the behalf of the Kauravas. And Yudhishthira agreed. He said, okay, as long as he has your blessings, that's all it matters. I'm going to play with anybody. And then the game started, and everybody was cheering, everybody was applauding, and the game started. In the beginning, even though Shakuni could spell and he could manipulate the dice, he didn't do it in the beginning. He played slowly. He allowed Yudhishthira to win a few rounds. Yudhishthira won some jewelry, some pearls, some gold, some land, some money. Everyone watching felt at ease. Everybody relaxed a little bit. It looked like it was a fair game and a friendly game. Everybody was happy, cheering. Even though when they were losing, Duryodhana and Shakuni, they were very sportive. They believed like it's an honest match and it is a friendly match. So then Shakuni, he changed the pace using his magical dice, which he could dictate. He began winning every round. First, he won small treasures. Okay, this much money, this much gold, this much here, this much there. Then he encouraged Yudhishthira to bet larger valuables. He pretended each time that, okay, you lost this, but if you bet that also, you can win all of this plus this. So every time he would lure him into larger bets. And Yudhishthira, he believed him and he started placing even bigger wagers. And one by one, as expected, Sakuni, he won Yudhishthira's gold, chariots, elephants, his army, his horses, his land, and they all watched helplessly the Pandavas as their wealth disappeared. Shakuni then urged him to bet his palaces and the lands and the Mayasabha. Each one, he's trying to draw Yudhishthira into this bottomless pit where he wants him to put everything at stake. And Yudhishthira kept doing that. He kept feeling pressurized. He kept feeling like everybody's watching him. And every round he felt like, okay, next round is mine. And Shakuni, he used to encourage him like that too. Hey, you've lost 3. There is no way. You look at probability. There is no way anybody would lose 4 in a row. Even I don't have that kind of luck. And once you win this, you will be able to win everything you've lost so far. He would encourage him round after round after round. And meanwhile, Duryodhana and his friends Karna, Dushasana, they were all delighted. They were watching Yudhishthira lose, and their smiles just grew wider and wider. And everybody was watching quietly. They are trying to see, because when they came in, it looked like it was just going to be a friendly game for some money and some gold coins or whatever. But now the stakes are getting higher, so everybody started feeling a little bit of pressure and tension and stress. And Yudhishthira, he kept betting everything as expected, the palaces, his lands, and finally he put his kingdom also as a bet. And Shakuni, as expected, he did his magic spell and he won all those rounds of gambling. And Yudhishthira, he sat there with nothing left, and he bowed his head. He was sad, he was shocked, he was ashamed. He had nothing left. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to go. He didn't even have any place to go from there. Then Shakuni, he calmly started talking to Yudhishthira again, and he started encouraging him again. Hey, you've been having a bad time with bad luck, hard luck. Everybody goes through that in gambling. But do one last bet. Put whatever you have, and what I will do is I will give you back everything that you've lost so far. It is not a one-on-one matchup or anything. If you put 10 coins, I put 10 coins. It's not that kind of bet. I'm willing to give you back everything, all the money you've lost, all the lands, your kingdom, your army, everything back for one bet. Then Yudhishthira is like, I don't have anything else left to bet. So this is going to have to end. I don't have anything left. Then he says, you and your brothers, bet on yourselves. You guys are great warriors. And all you need to do is win one bet. And then everything will be back to yours. And then we can start playing friendly game again. And then he called upon again and again and again. And he encouraged him until Yudhishthira finally agreed. And he bet himself and his brothers, one after the other. And he lost everybody in the bets. Yudhishthira, he was utterly broken, and he was really stressed out. He was sad, he was frustrated. And then Shakuni, he comes back again, luring him into one more bet. Yudhishthira is like, I don't have anything else left, including myself and my brothers. What are you talking about? There is no more bet. There is no opportunity for game anymore. Then Yudhishthira, as he was listening to Shakuni, he says, you still have Draupadi. Bet Draupadi as a wager on this final bet. And then if you win, we will give you back all that you've lost along with your brother's freedom. All of you. Again, he was tempted because he didn't want to be a slave, and he is in the game with all the emotion running high. And so he said, okay, one final bet, and I'm going to place Draupadi as a wager for the bet. And as he fell into Shakuni's trap, Shakuni, he was very happy inside. He rolled the dice again with his magic spell, and he lost that game also. Yudhishthira lost to Shakuni, and he lost Draupadi in the wager. Everybody was surprised. Everybody was full of shock. The court, just in the assembly, whoever is there, everybody fell silent, didn't know what to do. And as this tension was going on, Duryodhana and Karna, they were very happy. Dusasana, therefore, were very happy. Their plan had succeeded. Not only did they win all their money and riches, they also won the Pandavas in the bet along with Draupadi. And Duryodhana, he always had this deep-rooted anger towards Draupadi because the Matsya Yantra, the contest, he lost the contest. He couldn't win. None of his people could win. And Arjuna, he won the contest. And every time Pandavas win, that causes a lot of pain to Duryodhana. So he always had this anger towards Draupadi. And added to that, he saw that she was laughing at his misery in the Mayasabha. Even though she didn't, she just smiled. But it looked like for him, from where he was, she was making fun of him, mockery of him. So he grew more angry at her. And then, so all this victory, it made them very, very, very proud. Then Karna, he got up and he started insulting the Pandavas to humiliate them even further. He used all kinds of language, very sharp, very cruel, and then he reminded Duryodhana of what had happened in Mayasabha when Duryodhana fell down in the pool, and when everybody started laughing in front of all the other kings, including Draupadi. And he used that memory to provoke Duryodhana. He did again and again. He was reminding them, and now they are your slaves. You can do whatever you want with them. Punish them accordingly for all that they have done to insult you. The whole invitation for Mayasabha is designed to insult you. So now it is your turn. He kept provoking him. Then he suggested Duryodhana that now Draupadi is your servant. She is your slave because you won her fair and square in the bet. So she deserves to be punished for that wrongdoing in the Mayasabha. And he suggested to send somebody to bring her to the royal assembly. And that was a shocking idea. Everybody just froze there because queens, they never come to the court without proper rituals, without proper respect and dignity. They don't come to the assembly without the protection, without the ensemble, everybody, armies around, and without the proper protocol. And bringing a royal queen like that was considered to be a very great insult. And Duryodhana, he liked the idea, and he sent a messenger. Yudhishthira and his brothers, they couldn't say anything because they lost themselves in the bet. So what that means is they lost the right to speak up. They lost the right to fight. They are now bound to the orders of Duryodhana. Whatever he says, they have to do. The elders in the court, they were also stunned by Karna's idea, but none of them could stop it. Even though they raised their concerns, they tried to stop him. Karna wouldn't listen. He started insulting them also, and he started saying, you were okay as long as Yudhishthira was winning in the first few rounds, and now you have all these problems. As soon as we started winning, you are really biased and you have no justice towards us. So you stop talking. You're not in a place to advise us. So he used all kind of language to insult them also. And Duryodhana, he likes these things because these are the things that he wants to say. He wants to talk up against Pandavas, against everybody who stands behind them. Even though they stand behind justice, he thinks that they are biased towards Pandavas rather than the justice system. So he started enjoying this whole conversation of Karna insulting everybody. So he immediately sent a messenger to Draupadi's palace and asked him to bring her immediately. Draupadi, she heard the message and she refused. She explained that she could not appear in the royal hall in such a manner, and she reminded him that the royal women, they followed strict customs. It is not something that she could do. The messenger came back with Draupadi's message, and what she said, Duryodhana, he became furious. No, and Draupadi, she had no idea of what all happened in the assembly and what happened in the game of the dice. In his anger, Duryodhana, he sent Dusasana. He said, bring her at once, and if you have to use force, so be it. Use it. But I want her here now. Dusasana, he always listens to whatever Duryodhana says. So he marched up to Draupadi's chamber. At first, he tried to ask and give the message of the king for Draupadi to come to the assembly, as she repeatedly refused again and again. And so she was sticking to the rules. She was always bound by the rules, just like Yudhishthir. She doesn't go out of the protocol, and never. So, and that's what she was trying to explain to Dusasana. And then he remembered that Duryodhana asked him to use force if needed. So he grabbed her by her hair and dragged her out, which was very, very, very shocking. Even for her, she didn't know what was happening. So she started crying out in shock and pain, and she started crying for help. And Dusasana, he wouldn't listen, he wouldn't stop. The court, the people in the court, everybody, they watched in horror. They were shocked as Draupadi was pulled into that hall, and in that state where she was crying, she was asking for help, she was trembling, and everybody was feeling sad, sorry, and they were shocked. And Karna and Duryodhana, they insulted her. They started talking wrong things, bad things about her, while she tried to explain things. If you have problems, it is between kings. You should never pull the queens into these things, and what you're doing is entirely wrong. She tried to explain. She tried to appeal to the elders, hoping someone would protect her from all of this. But the elders remained silent because they tried, and Duryodhana, he wouldn't listen. Karna, he comes back with all these bad arguments and wrong things. So they had no say. Kripacharya, Vidura, the Drona, Bhishma, even though they tried to stop, or they tried to tell them the right thing, nobody would listen. So none of them could stop what was happening. The Pandavas, they sat there helplessly. Arjuna, who could defeat even gods in battle. Bhima, who could break mountains into pieces. Nakula, Sahadeva, Yudhishthir, who were great warriors. They were unable to act and protect their wife, who was in such pain and such agony because they lost themselves in the wager of a gambling bet. According to the rules of the game, now they are all slaves or servants to the Kauravas. Vikarna, it's not Karna, it is Vikarna. Vikarna is one of Duryodhana's brother. He stood up. He urged Duryodhana to stop this injustice. He told him to do whatever you want with the Pandavas. They are your problem, but leave Draupadi alone. This is grave injustice. She has nothing to do with any of this. And then again, Karna, he is always ready with this kind of retorts. He immediately got up and he silenced him, saying that you are a younger brother to Duryodhana, the king. You are not supposed to talk in front of him. Especially, you shouldn't be talking for Pandavas and Draupadi, because they are our servants now. And he insulted Vikarna also, and everybody who tried to stop at that point of time. and he provoked Duryodhana more and more, saying, "You're not doing enough to avenge what had happened in the Mayasabha. How will you ever get out of that insult, or what had happened if you don't punish them accordingly?" And Duryodhana, he got provoked more and more as Karna encouraged him, and he made the most shameful gesture. He slapped his thigh and signaled Draupadi to sit on it. Draupadi, she cried out in disgust. That is a very shameful gesture, and he is like a brother in relationship. He's the brother of Pandava, so he's like brotherly to Draupadi, but instead of helping her, he makes this disgusting gesture, and Draupadi, she got angry and she started crying out in disgust and saying all these things, pointing out how wrong it was. So Duryodhana, he got very, very angry and he got frustrated, and he ordered Dusasana to do something unthinkable, and he commanded him to remove Draupadi's robes in front of everyone. Dusasana, he is always loyal to his brother. He obeyed him and he started pulling Draupadi's sari with force. The courtroom just froze. Everybody was shocked. Everybody was frustrated. Nobody could stop this cruelty, but everybody was just did not know what was happening and how wrong it was to do this kind of thing on in the court in front of everybody anywhere. It's a horrible thing to do, and they're down to this kind of treatment, and Pandavas couldn't stop. In that moment of despair, even Draupadi didn't know what to do. Then she immediately closed her eyes and folded her hands. She prayed with all her heart to Lord Krishna. Krishna is in Dwaraka. He goes back and forth to Indraprastha. His like cousins, right? They're cousins, so they keep coming and going. But now, at that point of time when this was happening, he was in Dwaraka. And when Yudhishthir, he received the invitation from Dhritarashtra, he didn't inform Krishna also. They just treated it as an invitation from another king, and they just came to Indraprastha. So when Draupadi, she started praying to Lord Krishna with all that she has, every bit of devotion she has, she prayed to him. And Krishna, he always protects his devotees. Wherever he is, he protects. So she remembered his affection and the way he treated her like his own sister Subhadra. So she prayed asking for help. "Oh brother Krishna, I am same as Subhadra. Subhadra is Arjuna's wife, your sister. I am also Pandava's wife. I am like your sister. It is your duty to protect me." Far away from the palace, in the palace of Dwaraka, Krishna heard her call, heard her prayers, heard her devotion, and then from there he raised his hand in blessing. At once, as he raised his hand, a miracle took place. As Dusasana, he kept pulling the sari, another layer appeared magically, and as he tried to do more and more, infinite number of clothes kept coming. The saris kept coming, and he tried to take one, another came. He tried to take one, another came. So the endless cycle of clothes, they kept wrapping around Draupadi, keeping everybody in surprise. Everybody was shocked, but everybody knew that there is this greater divine power that has always been helping Pandavas, and now also Draupadi is getting that help from that greater divine power. So no matter how much Dusasana pulled, he could not uncover her. He could not do any damage or anything. After a long struggle, he grew tired. How long could he pull? He grew tired of pulling, and he fell on the ground. The court, everybody in the court, they watched in surprise. They were all very happy, except for Kauravas. Everybody else was happy. The Pandavas were relieved, and for Kauravas, finally they're like, they gave up the terrible attempt to insult Draupadi, and she stood there unharmed, and she kept praying to Lord Krishna. She thanked him again and again. And then the after this happened, Dhritarashtra, he came to know what happened. He was also there. Vidura explained to him what happened and what kind of mistake happened in that assembly. He immediately realized the terrible injustice that had taken place in that court. Then fear filled his heart. He was scared more than anything. He was not guilty. He was not feeling bad or sad for Pandavas. He started getting scared because he knows that Draupadi has the power to curse him and his entire family for the grave injustice that was done to her. He trembled with regret and fear, and he called her near him and he begged for forgiveness. What happened to that 10 minutes ago when she was getting pulled into the courtroom? Why couldn't he be the king? He knows that he has no say. Even though he's the king, everything, whatever Duryodhana and Karna and Dushasana, they say, that is what happens. So he never even tried to protect Draupadi. So then now, after all this happened, after the grave mistake that leads to the entire destruction of his family in Kurukshetra, after all that happened, then he realized his mistake and he asked for forgiveness. He begged for forgiveness. And Draupadi, she stayed calm. She again reminded all the elders that all of them just stood there and did not help her in any way when that grave injustice was happening to her. And then the king, she said, I will give you 2 boons, whatever you want, just ask for it and they are yours. And Draupadi calmed down a little bit, and then she said, first, free me, my husbands, from the bondage of this gambling bet, whatever had happened, which should have been stopped at some point, because all the elders are in this room and nobody tried to stop it. And Dhritarashtra, he immediately agreed. And then she asked for all that Yudhishthira had lost, his kingdom and everything, to give it back to him. And then Dhritarashtra, he agreed, and he gave back everything that Yudhishthira lost, including his kingdom and all the armies, and including themselves, Pandavas and Draupadi. And then he asked for forgiveness for everybody. He wanted to smooth things out with the Pandavas, so he gave them gifts. He gave lots of gifts and blessings, and he sent them back to Indraprastha with great glory and all kinds of honor. The Pandavas, even though they have this big insult and big embarrassing thing that happened to them, they returned home. Their hearts were filled with the wrong thing that happened and how to avenge that and how to eventually correct it. So, but they couldn't do anything there, because there is partly Yudhishthira was also at fault for betting all those things. So they quietly went back to Indraprastha. And again, they started ruling their kingdom. They're prospering. They're doing their thing. Everywhere they go, they're always in the right path. They always prosper. And as they were doing, again, going back to their kingdom, as they went back to their kingdom, and as they started living their life royally and happily, again, the Kauravas, they started feeling jealous. Their envy, their jealousy, it just has no bounds. Any time they think that Pandavas are happy, they're jealous, no matter what. Even after the terrible thing that happened to them, their jealousy, their anger in their heart, none of it calmed down. They're still the same Duryodhana, same Sakuni, always plotting against Pandavas. Again, Sakuni said, whatever had happened had happened. There is one way to take away the kingdom from them. Call them again for another game of dice. And Yudhishthira, he will still not say no, because it is still against the rules to say no to a king when fellow king invites him for a game of dice. And we will invite it in the royal form as sent with by Dhritarashtra the king. So he cannot refuse because it is coming from a fellow king and also from his uncle. Once he comes here, this time we will make it so, we'll not make it personal, we'll make it so that they lose everything that they have and they have to go to the forest. That way they'll be far away, some place, living a modest life, and we can have the entire kingdom to ourselves. Yudhishthira, he got the invitation again, and again, to everybody's surprise, he agreed to the invitation because he's always following the rules irrespective of what happened before or what is going to happen in the future. He always follows the rules by book, always to the dot. And this time Shakuni, again they invited him, they started playing the game, and they said this time we are going to change the rules a little bit. What we are going to do is, instead of playing for money or armies or the kingdom, palaces or anything, what we are going to do is one wager, one bet, and whoever loses, they will have to leave their kingdom and live in the forest for 12 long years. That period will be called as, it is called as Aranya Vasam. Aranya means forest, Vasam means living. Since they have to live in the forest, it is called Aranya Vasam. And after those 12 years, they would then have to spend one more year living in disguise without being recognized. That part, that 1 year will be called Ajnata Vasam. Ajnata is being in disguise, not knowing. If they get discovered during that year where they were supposed to be in incognito, in disguise, then they would have to repeat both of them again. 12 years of forest exile and 1 year of disguise. And it keeps going again and again in cycle. He put this in place, Shakuni, because he was so sure of Duryodhana's network, and he said, okay, after 12 years, we will never have to give the kingdom back to them, because every time in that cycle of 1 year, let's use all our messengers, all our network, and find out where they are. And once their disguise is out, they'll have to repeat the cycle again. Again, at the end of the cycle, we'll find out where they are, send them back, and then by the time they'll be old, then we don't have to worry about them anymore. So that was Shakuni's plan. And the game began once more, and Yudhishthir, he agreed to the rules because for two reasons. One, he came to the game and he had to play the game. The second thing, mainly because in the first episode when the dice game happened, Dhritarashtra, he kind of gave his kingdom back like a mercy thing, even though he lost his kingdom. And he didn't want the kingdom like that. He realized that he lost it, and it is fair for him, even if he loses again, for him to just go to the forest and live there and rightfully earn the kingdom back and come back. So the game started. Again, Shakuni controlled the dice. Remember, he had spell on the dice, so he manipulated every throw. And as everybody watched, in an unfair, treacherous game, Pandavas were beaten by Kauravas again. And as per the rules, when whoever loses, they had to go to the forest. So Pandavas, they gave up their kingdom and they prepared themselves to live in the forest for 12 years. The five brothers, they, along with Draupadi, they accepted their fate, and together they began their journey to the forest. They were determined to complete their years of hardship with dignity and strength, knowing what had happened and knowing that they have to follow those rules. That is the story part for this week. In this episode's story, I want to bring up two things, very important things embedded in the story. The first thing is, when Yudhishthir got the invitation first time during the game of dice, he had an idea of what Shakuni is capable of, his magical powers, his mysterious ways and treacherous ways of winning. On his side, he has somebody who's capable or more capable of that challenging and opening up that kind of illusions, maya, magic, and countering those. Krishna he's always there for guidance. He can realize and recognize these magic spells. He can counter them with very much ease. But Yudhishthir, he forgot to take his guidance or inform him and ask for protection. He trusted the rules of the kings. He trusted himself and his brothers, and he just expected an honest game of dice. But they fell in Shakuni's trap, and lost everything. Draupadi, on the other hand, she remembered Krishna at the most difficult moment of her life, when no one else in the royal court stood up for her, when her mighty warriors, her husbands, who are the warriors, undefeated warriors, they could not help her. She turned fully and submitted herself to Lord with faith, and she prayed with her heart out. And Krishna, he always responds to that kind of prayers, and he helped her and protected her. Her devotion not only saved herself, but also Pandavas. This teaches us, this tells us the importance of why we have to always remember God, especially during the times when we are a little down, when we need help, when things seem to be out of place. Normal trend is people get angry at that time, saying, oh, so look, God is not favoring me. I tried to do this. I prayed, I went to the temple, and I still went to the test, but I couldn't do this. All the questions were so tough. And that is not how a prayer works, right? So prayer is mainly to give the right path. Along with that, what God has given us is the capability and the smarts and the intelligence to do things by ourselves. We are capable of doing those things, but what we are asking him in the prayer is for guidance and protection. So that we have to always remember, and that is what will calm us down. That is what will give us a clarity and a clear picture of the path forward when we are in that kind of need or in any kind of position where we are not able to understand what is what and what the path is going forward. So the second important thing that I want to bring up from this today's episode is the respect towards women. The Kauravas, they committed their greatest sin in this episode when they dragged Draupadi into that court and tried to disrobe her. And we know and we have seen what all Kauravas were capable of. They sent Pandavas to Varanavrata. They gave a house which was built with things that could easily are very flammable and that could easily catch fire, and they put fire to them in attempt to kill them. And from childhood, Kauravas, they tried to kill Pandavas in multiple attempts. Still, the greatest sin that they have done is what they have done towards Draupadi. This was an unforgivable act, because women were they are to be treated with honor, dignity, and protection, especially in place of justice and everywhere. This is something that we have to remember and we have to follow. That is what led to their downfall. The Kurukshetra, even before the grand battle, Duryodhana, he doesn't agree for the Pandavas' request. Pandavas, they were ready to compromise to a certain level, but the compromise did not happen because Draupadi, she asked Krishna to help him get the revenge. And the downfall of Kauravas, 100 brothers and the armies, all of them entirely decimated, entirely eradicated, erased from the face of earth because of the one terrible mistake that they did in that court of assembly, where they tried to drag Draupadi into the court and disrobe her. That kind of shameful deed, that kind of sin had brought their downfall. That marked the beginning of all the troubles. It seems like Pandavas are in trouble, where they're going to the forest now, but they keep gaining ground every minute in the forest. They keep gaining ground. You will see what will happen in the future, because dharma, wherever the righteousness is, God is always there protecting them. Even though it looks like they're in trouble, they still keep getting reinforcements for the greater battle to come. And Duryodhana and his team goes the other way. So the story, this today's story, teaches us a powerful lesson: never to disrespect women, which could lead to the disgrace. Both the stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, that is the message, strong message, that those both stories respect, give us treating women with respect and giving their ideologies and the equality, the never to insult them. Every person, young or old, must learn to honor and protect the dignity of women at all times. That is the key message from both Ramayana and Mahabharata. Even in Ramayana, the downfall of Ravana, the great king who had all kinds of boons, all kinds of strengths, all kinds of weapons, and thus indestructible army with Indrajit on his side, Kumbhakarna on his side, everybody, they all had to die because of the injustice they have done to Sita. Again, what they tried to do to the woman in that story, that caused to their downfall, and what Duryodhana tried to do to Draupadi in this story caused their downfall. So this is a very important message from both Ramayana and Mahabharata. So these two are the things: always remembering God in times of good and bad, and respecting women is both very important messages from today's episode. And with that, I'm going to conclude the episode. Still have a couple of minutes. We've been stalling this for a few days, so I'm just going to quickly go through the next segment, which is our traditions, our way of life. In this episode, we are going to see why we wear a bottu, we wear a bindi. We call different names. It could be vibhuti, sandal paste, whatever it is. Everybody calls it different names, but what we actually do is, it's a bindi. We place it right on the forehead, between the eyebrows. So in yogic or in the Hindu traditions, in yogic traditions, this spot right here between the eyebrows, it's called Agnya Chakra, and it is the third eye. It is believed to be the place of wisdom. It is believed to be the place of intuition and spiritual vision, the place of inner awareness. Also, this is where signals go out. We all are very familiar with the nervous system and how the nerves act from the signals that go out of the brain, which is the powerhouse. So your entire body control lies right here, and that is why when you're stressed out or when you are dehydrated or anything, first thing that hurts is the head, and that too especially when you lack of sleep, especially in the middle area between the eyebrows. Wearing a bindi in that area, it calms down the entire system, starting here. So it improves the focus, it lets you focus, it calms you down, and it builds the concentration also. So that is main reason why we put a bindi or why we put a bottu, to protect the Agnya Chakra and the area underneath it, which is the control of all the system, the body system. So to control that and to keep it calm and to keep it cool, we wear the bindi or the bottu. Also, it is the mark of our identity. Across India, that is our cultural identity, the tradition, the pride, that we wear the bottu. And over the years, it seems like women and girls of all ages, they are supposed to wear the bottu, but everybody is supposed to wear bottu. If you cannot wear bottu or vibhuti when you go out because of all the questions or anything, at least start wearing at home, where you're in the comfort of your own house, in around your people. So start wearing from there, then you will realize the benefits of wearing a bottu or a bindi. And then I 10 years or 12 years back, I used to work in Chicago, and that is when my guru, he is a staunch believer of wearing the bottu, and at that time I never used to wear the bottu. I have always had the apprehension of, okay, when I go to office, there are people of different cultures. They may be asking all these questions. They may be thinking something inside. Why bring up all this? I'll just wear it home, or when I'm doing a puja, or when I'm going to the temple. So that way I'm not going to raise a lot of questions with everybody. So that's what I thought in the beginning. Then my Guruji, he used to tell the importance of this and how it is a cultural representation and how it keeps us calm and cool, the significance culturally and also from a health perspective. So then I started wearing it to office. To my surprise, it has been more than 10 years since I started wearing it every place I go, store, shop, even when I go to play badminton, tennis or whatever, still I wear a bottu. Not one person has asked me, why are you wearing it, what is it, in a negative way. Everybody asks me in a way, curiously, what does it do, why do you guys do wear it, in a very nice and understanding sense. But nobody, not in 10 years, in the last 10 years, not one person has asked me in a derogatory way. And now it has come to that level that if in the afternoon I go to gym or something, and if I don't have a bottu when I come back from the gym, people started asking me that, oh, you're missing something on the forehead. So it has become part and parcel of my life that people started identifying me with that. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There is nothing to be self-aware about. That is who we are. That is our identity. That is our tradition. That is what our forefathers did, and that is what we do. And it is not specific to women. Everybody has to wear it. If you need time to get used to it, wear a small one, wear a small bottu and wear it at home. Then you will see the significance of it. Then you will see that it is not a big deal. Then whenever you're comfortable, you can start wearing it everywhere. But always remember to wear it for cultural aspects, when you're going to a temple, when you're doing a prayer, because that is very important. When you're facing a deity in the temple, or when you're facing a deity at home, when you're offering your prayers, bindi is a must, a bottu is a must. That is what completes your prayer. That is what completes the ritual. Okay, so that is the significance of bottu and why we wear a bottu or a vibhuti or sandal paste. So with that, we will conclude that segment also. Sorry, I went a little bit 3 minutes ahead of what we've talked about, our time, scheduled time. Now I'm going to quickly do the final segment, that is the Mangala Shasana, concluding with best wishes for everybody. मङ्गलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्यपुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः